everybody. Let's get ready to social studies. It is Monday, April 6th. I'm recording this. This is the lesson on Christianity for Diffused Kongo. And this is the last lesson of the quarter through the 17th. So if you're feeling a little like nervous about things or you're not sure, you've got the days now and next week to make sure you get all of this information in. So you are still on a good track. Just wanted to give the schedule and some announcements before I get into the information. This will be posted by this morning. Might be close to noon, but it'll be this morning. And I am going to Zoom today. Now, that is a little different than the schedule that was put out on Friday. That Zoom would happen on Tuesday and Wednesday, but I did promise Zoom today for medicine and architecture. That's what M&A means, Zoom office hours for medicine and architecture. So I'm going to keep to that. So I will be on Zoom this afternoon. You can see the time periods there. We're just doing a little bit of a break so that I can get a break in that time period. But this is for all periods, no matter what period you're in, for medicine and architecture and for Christianity, we're going to see. You are welcome to come into the Zoom and chat and ask questions, and I might do a little bit of a lesson there. So today I'm going to see medicine and architecture people. Tomorrow I will see you guys who are watching this for Christianity, same time periods. And again, you can come in at any time. So I think officially Tuesday afternoon is like an odd day schedule. Let's say you're in my period 2, you're doing Christianity. Well, you might have your period 1 teacher doing a lesson, and so you will need to go to their Zoom for that period 1 lesson. But once that is over, you could come to my Zoom like during a period 3 time. So that is available to you. If you are booked solid tomorrow, that's okay. I will still be available by email on Wednesday, and you can email me your question. And if I have to chat with you on Wednesday, I will. But make sure obviously you're going to watch this video before asking any questions. I'm moving the time period. So Wednesday, there will be no Zoom since I'm doing one today, but I will be answering email. So I'll be available to answer your questions. And I moved the time that this was due to 8 p.m. because of how the hours are going for school these days. So Wednesday, 8 p.m., get that done. And that is officially the start of spring break. Okay, so we're doing a little bit of work this week, and then Thursday officially starts spring break, and I want you to be done at that point. Okay, what am I still grading? Well, 29 and 30, those grades have been due for a long time, but I am still grading them, and the deadline is also this Wednesday. The biggie is lesson 29. Look at that, the axum paragraph. That is a lot of points. So if you haven't done that paragraph, you should do it. I'm putting Z's in now, those of you that haven't gotten it done. I'm putting a Z in, even if you have it partially done, and I'll change it to half credit later when you do some work on it. But I want you to get those turned in. I've gotten a few get to know your cities. That's great. That's more completion points, the formative points you want to get done. Also, lesson 32 is officially due on Friday, but I will be accepting that all the way to the 15th. And you can see the things there. The exit ticket link is posted, and I will post it again so that you have multiple opportunities to see that. And of course, this lesson as well. Okay, so that's grades. And we're going to move on from there. You can review what I've said in the video. Okay, so today we are finishing up Congo, and we have followed the same format for Axum, Mali, and Congo. We did a traditional Axum and we did diffused Axum. Traditional Mali, and then what was it like after cultural diffusion, after Mansa Musa made his Hajj. And here for Congo, we're doing the same thing. Second point here is that the first lesson on the Congo Kingdom had you explore what the traditional or indigenous culture of Congo Kingdom was like. You observed what their social, political, and economic systems were, and you learned about their geography. This lesson here in the red will teach you about certain aspects of Congo culture that changed because of cultural diffusion. What happened when the Portuguese arrived to trade? So we didn't do too much on the history of this yet. We might do a little bit in the fourth quarter, but basically, the Portuguese from Portugal, Europe, are the first people to show up in the Congo that weren't in the immediate Congo people's area, at least that we have evidence for. We don't really have any evidence they connected with, let's say, Mali. We don't have evidence they connected with city states like Kilwa, if you remember them from the trade simulation. Obviously, they had their own area of control and they had their own civilization. But as far as interacting with another people that had kind of a completely different culture, we don't see a whole lot of cultural interaction with other groups. At least that was what we have evidence for until the Portuguese show up. Okay, and that's going to obviously change things in the Congo. Well, we'll see how much it changes things. We'll have to see what it does. So obviously, part of what we are learning, the essay is answering the question: was cultural diffusion accepted or resisted in the Congo Kingdom? So we're going to look at evidence in these documents to see if it's accepted or resisted. Okay, so we are going to read the 4 documents, and I'm not going to read them all in here, obviously. Excuse me. Okay, actually, I got to X out of this. Okay. Oh yeah. Well, before we start reading the documents, I wanted to show a little bit of this video of Congo from Africa's Great Civilization. So I'm going to hide myself here. I'm going to just watch this a little bit.
The Kingdom of Congo was one of the largest and most powerful states in the southern half of Africa. From the capital, Mbanza, Congo, a densely settled and well-administered city lying south of the Congo River, a king presided over a highly stratified society that covered some 50,000 square miles. At the heart of the city stand the ruins of a building constructed in the middle of the 16th century. It's one of the most important architectural remains in the history of sub-Saharan African Christianity, a striking symbol of the transformation of the religious beliefs of this great African kingdom. It's the Cathedral of South Salvador. What did you think when you first heard that there was an African cathedral in before the 1600?
I couldn't believe it.
Tell me about it.
The cathedral was built in 1549. And it's an incredible thing. Think about having a cathedral to fulfill the destiny of Christianity in Africa.
Do the people here know about this history?
Many of the references say the place was a temple that connected to the all religions.
So that would make sense.
It makes sense. The second tale is always the king knew he wanted to be a Christian, and he decided to build this monument to honor this incredible transformation.
The adoption of Roman Catholicism by the King of Congo in 1491 not only changed the official religion of the kingdom, but it inserted Congo into the very heart of European power.
Okay. You can watch more of that if you want to, but I wanted to show kind of the landscape here again of what this area looks like in the Congo. And we also had the opening picture. Let's see. I don't know if it's here, but we also had the opening picture of the city and what that looked like. Maybe it's back on the original screen. So, oh, you know what? This is not Mabanza, Congo. This is actually a city. So,
From the densely
so we
settled.
don't have too much here. We have the cathedral and we have the landscape of what this area looked like. And I don't want to describe it as like a super rural area. There were definitely cities in this area and definitely places to grow a lot of crops. This is one area of the Congo River. Okay, so that gives us a couple visuals here, and now we move on to Christianity. Now, we are the video already said that Christianity is, part of Congo's history. So that when the Portuguese come in, starting in the late 1400s and really getting into the 1500s, they are a Christian kingdom. A lot of Europe was Christian, and so they brought this religion to the Congo, and we kind of have to see how Christianity, if the Congo people accept Christianity or not. So we have these documents, and so that's part of that's part of the presentation. First, we read the documents. So I would actually read through all of these first, and there is a lot of writing here. And I'm going to help you get through this, but you can look through the documents first. But what I wanted to do here is, help you out in understanding what the documents meant. So we'll get to that in a second. Okay, analyze the documents, author's point of view. Okay, so let's go to Doc 1. The African Slave Trade, 1980, by Basil Davidson. Mr. Davidson was a British historian, writer, and expert in African history. The excerpt is Mr. Davidson's analysis of primary source letters from King Afonso to the King of Portugal. Letters to the King of Portugal, 1526, by King Nzinga Mbemba. Christian named King Afonso wrote a series of letters starting in 1517 to the King of Portugal during his reign as king. So what I see here is we have this source called The African Slave Trade by Basil Davidson. So he is a author, certainly. But if I read through the document, I'm going to see that a lot of this is just quoting Afonso. Okay. So while I might have, so now I'm moving to my organizer, while I might have that Davidson is the author of this book, I kind of want to put down also that Afonso is the king in 1517, and this is what we're reading. Okay, we're reading a lot of this is Afonso's words, not the dude Davidson from 1980. Okay, so now when I think about that, okay, so what's the bias or what's the author's background? Well, here I just put in stuff about Afonso. He's the king of Congo. He's Christian, and he's positive towards Christianity in the Congo. That's his viewpoint. Could there be a bias there? Could be, as far as he's going to promote Congo. But yeah, so that's good for that. Okay, so that's who we have here. The next question is about source reliability. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to skip down here. One of the issues here is that we have the claims evidence and then the source reliability. So I apologize for that. It is a little mixed up. But why don't we just follow along with the presentation? Source reliability. For the question about how reliable the source is, please remember to discuss the author or creator of the source, not the content. So who's the author? Well, the author is the king. The author is this Basil Davidson guy. And who the heck was this Basil Davidson guy? He was a British historian, writer, and expert in African history. So, I have a lot of good sense that it is highly reliable. And for these reasons, and what I might just put here, we have the date also of the King Afonso. This is generally high reliability. It's a well-researched book. It's by this professor. It's quoting the king directly, so it's almost like a primary source because all we have in this excerpt is the king. So you could argue that this source, Christianity 1, is a primary source because it has the king's words in it. It's quoting this letter. Okay. All right. So there we have the source reliability. We have the author's background. These are kind of similar questions. I'm not really too worried about saying something super new in the reliability, but I want you to say kind of, is this high reliability, medium reliability? Why might that be the case? Okay. All right. And now we have the claims and the evidence. Let's just go to the evidence. Let's go to the evidence here. So remember, our question is about accepting or resisting the culture, accepting or resisting the culture of Christianity. And here I have, it says, highlight in yellow, what does King Alfonso want for the church? And you can read either the reword or the actual section here. Right now, I'm just going to do the reword. What does King Alfonso want for the church? So here's the passage. Most high and powerful prince. I have a sneeze coming on. Excuse me. Most high and powerful prince, I need several things for my church. Okay, so right there, I'm going to hear what he needs for the church. I need a silver cross, a cabinet to store the most important objects for church services, curtains for the altar, and 6 robes for the priest. Perfect. Okay, this is what he needs. Now, does this show acceptance or resistance of Christianity? He needs these for the church. That's acceptance. He needs these things for the church. So this is what I have for evidence here. I see a lot of acceptance. Whoops, didn't quite do that right yet. I see a lot of acceptance. By the way, when you're watching this video, you can pause it at any time and get these notes down. I don't mind that. You can copy what I have right here. I'm going through a couple of these documents with you. This would be as if we were in class and I was writing things on the board and you were copying them. That is okay for this part because I'm kind of teaching you how to do the organizer. Okay, so I see a lot of acceptance here. Christian supplies, crosses, robes, cabinets. He also, the king of Congo, is treating the Portuguese royalty with honor. This looks like a lot of acceptance to me. That's what these A's represent. A's represent acceptance. Okay. All right. And it asks about, searching for monstrance and surplices to see what they look like. Let's just see. Was I on Image Quest at all for Britannica? Let's see. Oh, yes, I'm already on it. Let's see if they've got a monstrance. Ooh, pretty. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. This is from Peru, but that is not super important because you can see that these might be from different areas, but they all have they kind of all look the same. So this is just one of the tools of the church. This nice to have nice things in church and things like that. Okay, and then here is another word: surplices. Surplice. Let's see. Okay, here's kind of a fancy one. I'm not sure if I'm going to find anything for this. Let me see. There's another thing. It said surplice investment. I don't get as many good things about this. You might want to search in other ideas. This might be good. Yeah. So you can imagine this in a church, right? A priest or a reverend wears this fancy robe. So that's what Afonso wants, right? So he wants these things in the church, a silver cross. I think you could imagine what that looks like. Robes for the priests. Yeah, that's the surplices right there, the 6 robes for the priests. So we do have a lot of acceptance here. Okay, so there's the first doc. Let's go on to the second doc. South African History Online is established in 2000. Popular history websites serve to promote South African history and strengthen the teaching and learning of history related specifically to South Africa. All right. So I see that this is now a website for African history. It's got a pretty good official sounding name. wants to promote African history, probably wants to be as accurate as possible, maybe some leaning towards positivity of Africa. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it is a website. It's not quite a professor. So when I get down to reliability, I'm thinking it's probably medium high reliability. Um, you know, does seem, not as reliable as a professor, but a website devoted to history using multiple sources. Yeah, I mean, this is generally positive. If there was something in this doc that didn't agree with something that was maybe in a professor source, a source written by a professor, I might, I may not. I would go with the professor more, but this is still going to be fairly accurate information. Okay. All right. Now look at the italicized phrases. Which phrases show acceptance of Christianity or Catholicism? In this case, they mean the same thing, highlight in yellow. Okay, so I have a reword here, and you can read the reword, but my italicized are in this box, so I'm going to read this. So as I look at the italicized, I'm going to say, okay, is this phrase showing acceptance or is it showing resistance of Christianity? Uh, so the first meeting between Portuguese explorers and King Nzinga of the Kingdom of Congo was in 1482. 8 years later, King Nzinga would ask for unknown reasons to be baptized. Now, this one I'm going to give you. If you are familiar with Christianity, you will know that baptizing is an act in Christianity. You get some Christians sprinkle water on your head. Some Christians put you in the water completely. At this time in this place, most likely it was kind of like just putting some water on a head, but it was kind of like you are washed of your sins. Getting rid of your sins is an important idea in Christianity, like the bad things that you do. And it also shows that you are becoming a Christian. You are saying, God is going to help me not do these bad things anymore. And I've also accepted God and Jesus, as people or as, God to be worshiped. So the baptizing is showing acceptance of Christianity, and that's why we've put it in the yellow. Okay, he changes his name to Joao the First. Apologies on pronunciations there. The Christianization of the Congo would cause many nobles to change their names to Portuguese variations. Now, that is a pretty tough phrasing. I reworded it here to say he being the king, also changed his name to a Portuguese one. Um, for this, changing his name to a more Portuguese name, this word Christianization, it kind of sounds like people are becoming Christians. So this is also an acceptance part of the document. Okay. So you can keep going on that. The only thing that's a resistance here is where it says there was no full scale conversion to Catholicism. So far we've had a lot of acceptance. This is our first indication that there is some resistance. So I'm actually going to give you the resistance part here because I think it's good, since we have so much acceptance, I'm going to just note the resistance part that there's no full scale conversion. Not everyone in Congo becomes Christian. So that is some resistance. But I think your second point can be an acceptance part. And I do think that this doc shows a lot of acceptance. And you're gonna be looking at that for 3 and 4. What is showing acceptance here in the documents? Okay, so you got to do that part. You got to do those parts for the other 2 documents. I've given you basically 2. You're welcome. You can use this for your organizer, not a problem. And now we get to the corroboration. Now, the corroboration, well, the evidence is important, but the corroboration, now we bring these ideas together. Sorry, let me stop clicking around. So, corroboration, what is corroborated by the sources? So, then really I would do all 4 docs before doing the corroboration. Because then you'll have the largest body of evidence. You'll have all the evidences written down. And, and right now I can only do 2 of them, and I actually didn't put down a second one here for evidence. That's up to you. But what I would put down is that Afonso is definitely a Christian. And not only did he become a Christian, but he's promoting Christianity as well. So that is definitely a corroborating statement. I could use evidence from source 1, I could use evidence from source 2, and you're going to see source 3 actually kind of goes over that evidence as well. So that's a good corroborating statement to make. What is not corroborated? Okay, so for not corroborated, you're writing a factor detail that it only appears in one of the sources. So this is another reason why reading all 4 is helpful to do, because if if you don't read all 4 and you just pick out something from doc 1 that seems to be more specific, you haven't figured out whether that's in the other docs or not. So in reading the other docs, I can find that only Doc 1 talks about the fact that King Afonso asked for these specific items for church. So that would be a non-corroborated statement. Doesn't mean that it's not true. It probably is true. We just need to find other sources that kind of confirm that. Or do we have evidence that those artifacts were in Congo? If we do find that those artifacts are in Congo, that gives a little bit more support for the fact that the king asked for these items. He asked for them, they came to Congo, and that's where they are. So that's just 2 statements of corroboration. Now, you will see here that there is, you kind of notice in this column here, let me shrink this a little bit, that there is space for, you see one statement here, sorry, I'm pointing and you can't see where I'm pointing. Okay, one statement here, I think I just spelled Christianity wrong. There we go. Another statement here. So you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 places to put statements, but I'm only asking for 5. 5. I'm only asking for 5, and you need to have at least 2 corroborated statements. So you need like 2 in here. Okay, that's the only requirements here. So you don't have to fill in all 12. Unless you are really motivated and this is just amazing information to you and you want to fill in all 12, you may not even be able to do that, because this third column here is talking about contradictions. Do the sources contradict anywhere? And if you remember from our lessons in corroboration, not corroboration is different from contradiction. King Afonso asking for items is not corroborated. We just didn't find it in another source. But if it was a contradiction, it would be that King Afonso never asked for the items, or the King Afonso wrote, "Don't send these things to me." If he said something like that, that would be a contradiction. So you may not find any contradictions. You may just find corroborated and not corroborated. So you never need to put something in you don't have to put something in the contradict. You may want to. If you find one, you can, but you don't have to. So step 3, even though there's 12 spots, you only need to fill out 5. It could all be corroborated statements. You could fill this, you could fit, well, there's only 4 here, but you could fit, you could do 4 and 1, 4 in the corroborated, 1 in the not corroborated. But those are the requirements. Fill in at least 5 there and 2 corroborated statements. And the corroboration is not easy. You've got to create The corroboration statement is something you have to create. Okay. This is more like in your own words. Not corroborated could be a quote, could be a little bit more specific, but corroboration is the one you kind of have to take the pieces together and blend it into a statement or make a statement that can be supported by two docs. So here in the flip chart is more about contradiction. If it is directly contradicted, you can include that as well. We didn't do slave trade, kind of explained this already. One source says that Congo embraced the slave trade while another says they fought against it. That would be an example of when sources contradict each other. And like I said about King Afonso, if one source says he, ordered the items for the church, and then another says he said, don't send them to me, that would be a contradiction. All right, and then we have the thesis statement, and this is what is worth the formative points. So, what's going to help you once you get stuff in step 3 done, the corroboration? Your thesis statement should be relatively easy to create from there because you'll be able to see what evidence is the strongest for acceptance or resistance. You can see how far we're going on acceptance here so far. And I'm going to give you the hint that you're going to see a lot of acceptance in the other two docs as well. We did one resistance here, but you could easily do 2 more acceptances in source 2. You could easily do 2 more. And then we have 3 and 4. So your thesis statement, remember, and I think we'll end with this. You are making a decision. Did Congo accept or resist cultural diffusion? You think about 2 reasons that you could state that would prove your position, and then you combine it into one sentence. So on this last slide, I have examples here, and these are from Mali and Axum. I'm also going to put these examples on the actual exit ticket, so you've got you have models there. Okay, because we're still working on exit. We're still working on thesis statements. Some of you have it down pretty well, but others of you still want to split it up into 2 sentences. You want to be able to get it down so you can say your thesis statement into one sentence. And we also haven't had too many chances or to practice putting 2 reasons in. So here are the examples. Mali accepted. Let me get my camera completely out of the way so you don't see my head. Mali accepted the cultural change of Islam by Mansa Musa introducing Islamic practices and building universities that taught Islamic learning in Arabic. So here you have, one reason Mansa Musa introduces Islamic practices. And then the second is building universities that taught Islamic learning in Arabic. One sentence, 2 reasons. We have the claim. They accepted cultural change. Great. Here's another one about Axum. Many people in cities accepted Greek because it was, I'm going to change this language actually as I'm looking at this here. Yeah. Many people in cities in Axum accepted Greek because it was the language of international trade, but people in the countryside, I'm going to just say, resisted Greek and usually kept their traditional language of Ge'ez. So this thesis statement is kind of doing one group accepted it and one group resisted it. So you're going to have to see if that is true. I would say, for Christianity, as long as they're accepting some part of it, some part of Christianity, that's accepting it. Okay. Anytime a culture accepts, largely accepts something from another culture, we would consider that acceptance. Okay. Accepting a culture doesn't mean you have to throw out your own. You don't have to completely get rid of your own. Sometimes that happens, but it doesn't have to happen. Acceptance could just mean, well, I believed this, and so I'm going to add this belief to my beliefs. And even though Christianity sometimes is kind of like, well, this is what we believe, and you can't really go beyond that. You might hear that from people who are Christian. In reality, there are a lot of people that took Christian beliefs but kept their own. All of that is acceptance, 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 acceptance. This here for Axum is about the fact that they, resisted Greek and kept their language of Gez. So if you see something like that, where the traditional like completely reject Christianity, like we don't want it here, that would be obviously resisting. Okay, so you're welcome to check out those thesis statements. Here ends the lesson. It's a big organizer, I know. Do your best. This is for completion points here. And the formative points is making the thesis statement. I will post links on both. Have a great day. Have a good Monday or whatever day you're watching this. And maybe I'll see you on Zoom. Take care. Bye bye.